what the future holds for Meghan and Harry in terms of their Netflix deal. Apparently, Harry and Meghan do have a future at Netflix, but the question is anybody going to watch what they have to offer? Hello, friends. Welcome to the King YouTube channel. It is interesting, isn't it, how it seems like the executives over at Netflix simply won't give up on Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan signed that Netflix contract around the same time I believe that they signed their Spotify contract. Well, Spotify didn't put up with them for nearly as long as Netflix has. Spotify decided to cut their losses and run back in the summer of last year. But now, thanks to an executive at Netflix, it looks like Netflix is agreeing to keep them on for at least another year, probably until the natural expiration of their contract in 2025. And thanks to Andrew Larman over at The Spectator, we have an excellent piece of snark describing this relationship between Harry and Meghan and Netflix. So we have the headline Netflix rise to the rescue for Meghan and Harry again. Larman writes, after a catastrophic 2023, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have taken some time to regroup and rethink. Now they have decided to grace us with their decision on how to re-enter the public sphere in glory once again. Send for Netflix. Well, I mean, at this point in time, that's all Harry and Meghan have. Spotify doesn't want anything to do with them. And Paramount, I know they're angling for some deal with Paramount, but I don't believe Paramount's going to bite. I think after what we have seen with Netflix, no big media company wants to be involved with Harry and Meghan. They don't want to put any work into their projects. They don't have any good ideas. What exactly about them could possibly attract a major corporation? Nothing. So Larman goes on to write, not that they've put it quite like that. Instead, Bella Baharia, Netflix's chief content officer, has announced that their $100 million 5-year deal with Harry and Meghan's Archwell Productions will continue through 2024. Speaking at an industry event in Hollywood, Baharia commented that the pair, quote, have a bunch of projects in development. These are expected to include a mixture of features, potentially including an adaptation of the romance novel Meet Me at the Lake, to which the couple bought the rights last year. Most ominously, Baharia also said the pair had, quote, a couple of unscripted things in the works. Yes, it's looking likely that there will be some sort of follow-up to 2022's interminable series Harry and Meghan. Let joy be unconfined. Oh, dear God, please spare us. I mean, after that debacle of a docu-series, why on earth would Netflix agree to more unscripted productions by Meghan and Harry? And another thing, that Harry and Meghan docu-series was certainly not unscripted. If they consider that to be unscripted, they have no idea what they're talking about. Every single way, Harry and Meghan made it a real point to portray themselves in the most flattering light possible. That thing wasn't even close to reality. I'll never forget how they got called out by so many people online for using images from other events like the premiere of the Harry Potter movie to try to make it look like they were being hounded by the press. Larman writes, it is surprising that Netflix are still attempting to promote the Montecito dwellers as one of their best assets, given that most other media companies who found themselves sucked into their orbit have long since cut and run. The most high-profile instance of this was Spotify, who not only canceled the much-derided Archetypes podcast series, but decided that ending their overall deal with the Sussexes was the sensible move. They had perhaps been mindful of the comments made by the leading talent agency, Nicholas Zimmer, that turns out Meghan Markle was not a great audio talent, or necessarily any kind of talent. Just because you're famous doesn't make you great at something. Now, actually, to me, that is the funny thing about Meghan and Harry compared to the Kardashians. I have done it too. I mean, I'm guilty of it as much as anybody else is, talking about how the Kardashians don't have any real talent, how they're just famous for being famous. Because, well, they kind of are. But at the same time, compared to Meghan Markle, Kim Kardashian is absolutely talented. I mean, she's a superstar compared to Meghan. At least she's able to create a successful business. At least she's able to be successful at something. That something is just getting attention for herself. Still, she far outshines Meghan Markle. Norman also points out that Harry and Meghan are very much stuck in the past. He writes their solipsistic and money-grabbing existence is one predicated entirely on former glories. Even as staff continue to leave Archwell in droves, the words rats and sinking ships come to mind. There is still the desperate adherence on the couple's part to grift and grasp. It is an interesting thing about them, isn't it? And it's something about Meghan Markle especially that I've noticed. I mean, she just won't give up. We can say she is resilient. We can use a lot of other adjectives to describe her as well, but I'm going to stick with resilient for right now. It doesn't seem to matter how many times Meghan is told that she doesn't have any talent and that nobody is interested in what she has to offer. She just keeps plugging away, expecting her break to be right around the corner. Harmon reminds us that in an interview with the Hollywood industry title Variety late last year, Meghan was bullish about her artistic ambitions. She commented that her aim was to produce things that make people feel something and feel a sense of community. But we have so many exciting things on the slate, I can't wait until we can announce them. We are just really proud of what we're creating, and my husband is loving it too. Things that make people feel something. Well, I mean, okay, Megan, can you be a little more specific? I guess not, because the truth probably is you got nothing going on. It is interesting, though, that now this Netflix boss is coming out and saying basically the same thing that Megan is saying, that they have a lot going on right now. They have so many projects in the works. Well, why haven't we heard about any of these projects? Larman points out that Meghan actually was kind of right in one way. He writes, quote, although perhaps she didn't bargain that the feeling her creations have prompted is that of weary contempt, and the community is that of the viewing public allied initially in scorn and then in switching off the TV before the first episode had even finished. Judging by the grim scowls on Harry's face, too, he certainly isn't loving it either. He'd rather be back in court fighting one of the many privacy cases that he is currently embroiled in. It is funny, isn't it, how Meghan Markle seems to believe that if she just states something, it makes it automatically true. If she states that Harry is loving this process of creating content, even though he so clearly is not, we're going to believe that, oh yeah, don't pay attention to the look on Harry's face. He's really, really happy. He just looks absolutely miserable. Nobody is believing this crap, so why does she even bother at this point? Honestly, I believe the answer is because she truly is so delusional she believes her own lies. And I don't know, I can't figure out if she really believes them deep down inside or if it's all just a facade to try to convince us that she's somebody she's not, or maybe some of both. At one point in time, remember, Meghan herself admitted that she is such a fraud. I believe she knows it, but as a narcissist, the important thing is that she believes we are convinced that she's someone else. It certainly is a sick way to go through life, but again, it's Meghan Markle we're talking about. Anyway, Larman concludes this article writing, still, perhaps not all is lost. With a couple of notable exceptions, the list of films Netflix is planning to release this year is the most dismally uninspiring roster of entertainment imaginable. It features derivative pictures with titles like Trigger Warning and Back in Action, and an apparent attempt to relaunch the career of Lindsay Lohan with romantic comedies called things like Irish Wish. Wish fulfillment flannel with washed up divas and contemptuous pap aimed at the lowest common denominator. Netflix may well be the perfect home for Harry and Meghan after all. I told you all it was an excellent piece of snark. But that's kind of what I was saying too about the reason that Suits has been so successful on Netflix, is because there's nothing else to watch. The writer strike certainly didn't help matters, but even before that, Netflix has been on this downward trajectory for a while now. I just kind of suspect that the people who actually have really good ideas are no longer turning to Netflix to try to sell them. I think they're turning to other companies because, well, again, Netflix isn't doing very well. For years now, they have been losing subscribers left and right. They also keep having to raise their subscription rates, and I'm sure that's partially because they keep signing on people like Harry and Meghan. They're paying a whole lot of money to people who are really not producing anything. But that is their mistake. If it's true they really have been Markle, they only have themselves to blame, because if you ask me, all the signs were there. If Netflix really does want to try to get some money back from their investment in Harry and Meghan, there is one thing they could do. They could produce an expose on their grifting, lying, scheming ways, and that's something that I believe all of us would enjoy watching. They were to take a real honest look at everything Harry and Meghan have gotten involved with since they left the royal family. Now that would be something I would watch, but they're never going to do that because, again, Harry and Meghan never agreed to that. The only unscripted shows that Harry and Meghan are going to agree to do are going to be shows that, in fact, are scripted and shows that make them look as good as possible. But you know what? As long as Netflix continues to rush to their defense and insist that Harry and Meghan really are amazing, we just don't see it, I've got no use for them, I've got no time for them, and I'm certainly not going to be renewing my subscription. And next up, let's look at this article in the Daily Express. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle get alarming feedback as TV careers left in tatters. Exclusive. Americans appear to have lost all interest in Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, with experts branding them a one-trick pony. Well, first impression is I don't see any problem with this headline. I mean, Harry and Meghan need to receive some alarming feedback. Somebody needs to tell them the truth. Somebody needs to let them know that their delusions they're holding on to, that they're these successes in America and everybody loves them, are not founded in reality. It's better to take a good long look at the reality of the situation and change their behavior so that maybe they can actually be successful. I know that's never going to happen. Harry and Meghan are never going to be brought down to earth. But anyway, it would be nice, wouldn't it? So it looks like Daily Express US did a survey, and they are asking Americans what they think of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Quote, an overwhelming 96% say they would not watch another docuseries about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, with the rest, a mere 4%, saying they would tune in. Maybe Netflix needs to reconsider those unscripted projects that they're allowing Harry and Meghan to produce if that really is happening, because nobody's going to watch it. I mean, these are Americans too. They're not even Brits they were interviewing. If only 4% say they would be interested in watching another Harry and Meghan documentary, it doesn't bode well for Netflix. Is Netflix really so stupid that they're going to continue to throw good money after bad? Harry and Meghan are desperate, but the thing is, there's nobody out there who's obligated to give them any money. Harry and Meghan don't want to work. Okay, that's fine. But these companies do not need to be giving into them and giving them more money to do absolutely nothing. According to the Daily Express, the LA based media finance analyst Mike Raya said they are clearly making moves to have a new content deal in place before their Netflix agreement runs out. But I seriously doubt they can negotiate anything like the same amount of money. Well, yes, clearly Harry and Meghan are feeling desperate right now. They're feeling the pressure, as they should. There's no way Netflix is going to renew that deal if you ask me. They would be so foolish to do so. I mean, what blackmail could Harry and Meghan possibly be holding over the heads of everybody at Netflix? It doesn't make sense. And I know that's how they operate. They believe that if they've got some dirt on somebody, they can make them do whatever they want. But Netflix is such a big corporation, I simply don't see how Meghan and Harry could have any power over them. But I'm sure that's exactly what that move with Paramount in Jamaica was all about. Harry and Meghan were trying to send Netflix a message. Well, if you decide you don't want us, somebody else will. But it's all a big bluff. Nobody wants Harry and Meghan. Mike Raya went on to say most studio heads would consider any investment in them as a gamble. They have hardly set the industry alight with sparkling, fresh material, and this latest poll proves the public is no longer interested in endless rehashes of their bitter feud with the royal family. So even though Harry and Meghan's three-part docu-series, mocu-series more like it, Harry and Meghan, did score a record debut audience for a Netflix documentary with 81.6 million viewing hours in the first 4 days of release, yeah, they were not able to follow that kind of success with more success. In fact, we just saw more failure. So after this docu-series Harry and Meghan, which okay, the first episode did all right, but the other ones didn't. We had the Live to Lead documentary, which was a big flop, and then we had Harry's Heart of Invictus, which again was a massive failure. So if Netflix believes that somehow they have more to offer, that they shouldn't be done with Harry and Meghan yet, they really are stupider than I thought. All right, my friends, enough about Harry and Meghan's failure to produce any worthwhile content. Let's shift our discussion to the comments that you left in response to the video about the Clarkson feud. In this video, we were talking about the history of the whole feud between Jeremy Clarkson and Meghan Markle. We talked about how it started and how it ended, with Clarkson saying that he would love to see Meghan recreate the scene from Game of Thrones where she's paraded through the streets with excrement being flung at her. People got a little upset after that, but we discussed that Jeremy Clarkson meant it as a joke. Sure, maybe it wasn't very well timed, but he did apologize, and personally, I don't think it's fair the way that he was canceled. But let's see what you all had to say. The first comment I would like to share comes from Gigi Harrington. Gigi writes, Clarkson was right, he was spot on, and Meghan couldn't handle the truth. Well, of course she can't. Meghan Markle lives in a fantasy world. She has to. Because as a narcissist, Meghan Markle can't face the reality of who she is as a person. She has this really inflated sense of self. And whenever she hears anything that disagrees with this overinflated sense of self, she falls apart. She simply cannot handle it. She cannot be confronted with the reality of who she is as a person. We have a response to Mary Louise says, absolutely agree. What about the despicable Sussex squad? Jeremy Clarkson's comments are mild compared to what the Sussex squad do and say about Princess Catherine and others. Mary Louise, this is something we have talked about at length. I mean, it's disgusting what the Sussex squad does online. Jeremy Clarkson's comments, I agree with you, are nothing compared to the stuff they say. I mean, you want to talk about scary, hateful comments. Well, just look at what they say about Catherine and even the children. I mean, it's Meghan's Sussex squad who started the rumors about Prince William and Rose Henbury. Rumors that, by the way, are absolutely unfounded. But Meghan is a hypocrite. This is something we have noticed time and time again, so at this point, we shouldn't be surprised. Next comment comes to us from a user named Lee. Harry and Meghan can't handle what is truly written about them. Well, it's basically the same thing that Gigi was saying, and it's absolutely true. Harry, I don't believe is a narcissist. I just believe he has some really severe self esteem issues and a lot of trauma that he has not dealt with and probably doesn't want to deal with. It's easier for him to just numb the pain with a bunch of drugs. But Harry also cannot handle any criticism. I think he's been like that since he was a little boy. And while he was a member of the royal family, they were able to protect him from a lot of criticism. All his bad behavior was covered up, but now he's in the real world and he's finding it very difficult to function. Next, let's see what Paul Campbell writes. Since when did hate equal the truth? Clarkson doesn't hate Meghan Markle. His article merely mirrored what she projects. She deserved everything he said. Well, Paul, you know I agree with you. I don't think there was hatred in his comment. I think that the joke he made, he assumed everybody was going to understand it, and they didn't. People thought he was being serious, that he really wanted this violent scene to play out with Meghan Markle. But I don't think that ever was what he intended. I think Meghan Markle also just took this. She used this to her advantage. She saw an opportunity to play the poor victim, which she, of course, seized. She saw an opportunity to make the public feel sorry for her, which really is a dream come true for her. So I would argue, in fact, Clarkson helped her. He didn't hurt her in the least. And let's look at this other comment from Kay. Kay writes, yes, he apologized. Move on. But what about the terrible lies the Harkles have said and written? No apologies. And their sugars? Well, that says it all. Okay, I mean, you're pointing out some very important things here. But again, as hypocrites, Harry and Meghan simply do not care. They have shown us that they don't care about their hypocrisy. They see no problem with it. They believe themselves to be so far superior to all of us, they can do and say whatever they want to. Next comment comes from I am a hick. What the stories would have been in the British press if the palace had not been protecting Harry. I would love to know the answer to that question. I mean, who knows what all kinds of stuff he's gotten up to over the years. I do believe these reports that Harry, when he was in Afghanistan, was incredibly abusive to sex workers. We know that he's been abusive to animals. I mean, he would kick his polo ponies so hard they would bleed. I think that Harry is a very disturbed person. He needs help more than anything else. But as long as he's got people around him feeding this delusion that everything he does is perfectly acceptable and he's beyond reproach, he's never going to get the help he needs. Sue Clark writes, she gets all offended by his comments, which don't even come close to what her sugars put out there. I mean, yes, Sue, you are hitting the nail on the head with this. But again, Harry and Meghan are hypocrites. They live by the mantra, do as we say, not as we do. Paula writes, Clarkson, in my opinion, won because he apologized and moved forward with his life. Hopefully, he's enjoying time with his grandchild and his farm, especially with so many people lined up for it to open. Harry and Meghan will, in my opinion, never win much in life because they can't move forward and continue the victimhood lifestyle. And Paula says that she enjoys the longer format. Thank you, Paula, for that comment. And Paula, yeah, I think you're right. As long as Harry and Meghan are mired in this victimhood lifestyle, they're never going to be able to move on. They're never going to be able to build a meaningful life for themselves. So, yes, in the end, they are the big losers. Janie writes, a movie reference to the Meg, you can't handle the truth. Sincerely, the people. Thank you, Janie, for this one. And user KX writes, Duchess of Destruction, isn't she, though? And Joanne Marion writes, if Harry brings her back to the UK, Jeremy Clarkson's dream will come through. Maybe so. Honestly, though, I don't think anybody wants to see Meghan Markle paraded naked through the streets. That sounds like a nightmare. All right, folks, that is all the time that we've got for now. Please let me know what you think about these exciting new projects that are in the works for Harry and Meghan and Netflix. Do you believe this report, or do you think it's a big fat nothing burger? Let me know your opinion below in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to like and share it with anybody else who would appreciate it too. And if you haven't gotten around to it yet, please don't you forget to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss a single update. It's by the King YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for tuning in. You have a lovely day, and I'll be back to see you in the next video.